here has used our volunteer check-in app for your events? Awesome. So a few of you guys are pretty familiar with it. Who here has probably more, or an event that has more than like 5 or 10 volunteers? You know, any one event or all of your events have that? Gotcha. Perfect. So have you guys ran into any issues or troubles with those volunteers? And kind of just, if anyone wants to share, you know, now's your chance. We got one back there. What were some of the issues that you wanted to? Wait, oh, we got a mic coming towards you. I'm sorry. It's like being on the Late Show.
Hello.
It's on. You're good.
We get volunteers that are not qualified, not interested, and are no shows.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Anyone else have anything? Oh, we got one more.
Yeah, so our issue is that the volunteers don't sign up or commit until close to the event, and you're always kind of worried, well, maybe we're not going to have enough.
Right.
And then usually on the day there are enough, but you're just never sure.
Right. Gotcha. Cool. One more. Volunteers not showing up.
Volunteers not showing up seems to be a national issue. I actually just got let go from my job in April for not the volunteers not signing up, even though they were committing.
Gotcha.
But I got swept up by 3 other companies. So
there you go. There you go. Well, awesome. Well, I think you'll find in today's presentation, there's a lot of tools that we have built in specifically for these things, a lot of other comments and concerns we've had from our other race directors and timers and organizations. So I think you'll see a lot of value here. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm Cam. I am part of the RunSignup team for the Southeast. And this is Dan. I'll let him introduce himself there.
Yeah, I'm from the Denver, Boulder area, and I work the West Coast for RunSignup. So Dan Schaefer.
Awesome. So today we're going to talk about the integrated volunteer platform. We're going to go over a few setup and definitions just so that we're all speaking the same language. You might call something a little bit different, and that's fine, but at least if we're all on the same page, we can kind of work from there. Go over some advanced options. We'll do a very quick demo, just kind of showing you some of that back end if you've never set one up before. We'll go into some volunteer data that you get, how to read some of that, and then the volunteer check-in app at the end. So the integrated platform is always available on your events. So when you set up that event, volunteers are right there in your dashboard. You can go into it, set those up, and we've got a lot of different features for if you just want to do a very simple setup. Maybe it's an easy 5K with just one group volunteer overall. Maybe you have very complex setup like a marathon where you may have 5, 6, 10 different water stations all across the city, and you need to manage that from a central location. So we've got a lot of different solutions for that. We've got built-in communications tools. So I think that might help with some of the communications between yourselves and those volunteers that have raised their hand for you. And then the access to allow volunteer coordinators or task coordinators to view only the data that they need to access instead of being bombarded by the entire wave of volunteer issues. So with the integrated volunteer system that we have, you'll have one consistent UI from your participants registering to your volunteers registering. So when they log on and they see your sign up buttons and everything, you can see the volunteer button is added to your menu automatically. Now you can remove that if you want, turn it into a call to action button on your cover page or anything like that, but it is automatically added to that menu option for you. Volunteers can just go right into, once they sign up, can go right into their profile, and they'll see, just like if they've registered for your race or registered for your other event, they'll see that they've registered for that and their different options. They will see the option that they are registered as a volunteer for your event as well. So if they ever have questions about that, you can point them to their profile and go from that direction. It just gives you, though, a single source for all of your data. So your participants are all in one place, your sponsors, your charities, your donors, your fundraisers, and your volunteers are all on one site. That way you're not having to pick through a spreadsheet that this person made over here, a Google form over there. Just gives you one consistent UI across the board. Setup and definition. So just some of the terms that we use. So when you're looking through our dashboard, what are you going to see? Job definitions. The task is the actual station itself. So let's use water station 1 and 2 as kind of the blanket, and you fill that in with whatever your needs are. But the task would be water station 1. That's one task. Water station 2 would be another task. The task time slots are going to be those different times. So if I have an overlapping time slot, maybe I want to have water station 1, someone comes at 8 in the morning, probably earlier than that, but 8 in the morning till 9. And then I'm going to have another person come in at 8:30 and stay until 9:30. So I have that overlap. That's what those time slots are going to be. And we're going to show you how you set those up later. And then the category would be the category of water stations. That's going to be that overall umbrella that all of a certain different stations might fall under. And so with that, you can have task coordinators and category coordinators. The task coordinator goes with the task. So they are going to be the coordinator at water station 1. This is great when you have either a 5K where it's a pretty simple course, but you might have a water station at the start finish line. But also if you have that big marathon and you've got 10 different stations out along the city, each of those 10 stations can have their own coordinator. The category coordinator is going to be the one who's in charge of water. They're going to be in charge of all your water stations across the city. They're going to be the ones working with that task coordinator at each location to make sure they have the resources they need. And then you as the race director or as the event manager, you're going to work with that individual person to say, hey, what else do you need? Category water station coordinator. Any questions there about those? All right, we'll keep rocking. So to get set up, you'll just go right into your dashboard. You may have to click show more. If you guys are familiar with that, you'll click show more. Then you'll see a tab that says volunteers. You'll jump right into the setup and we'll go through kind of the timeline of that. So the first thing we're going to do is the task setup and allow that race director and coordinator to create the volunteer task. So here's just some different examples. You guys can kind of fill in your own example of what you need. But you can see here when you go in to create that, you'll have a task title. This is where I might put water station 1, water station 2, start finish line, volunteer, whatever you need to put in there. Priority, if you want to set a priority level to that, you can. The location, where is this going to be? Is this going to be somewhere? Good.
Can you move volunteers around
Yep,
the day of the
you
race?
sure can. And we'll get into that in a little bit, how you can
multiple
manage that.
titles. Yeah.
Yep, sure can. So the location, that's going to be, if I need one person on the east end and I need someone else on the Main Street water location, I can tell them exactly which location these are going to be if someone wants to be near or closer to a certain point. Information, that's just any information about the task. That might be if you have something where they're going to be lifting heavy objects, you want to say, that you need to be able to lift 25 pounds comfortably by yourself, things like that. Then at the bottom, you can set up things like age limits. So if this is going to be like the finisher beer and they're distributing that out and you want to make sure that they're 21 and up, you can put that age limit restriction on it. And then the task coordinator, this is where you're going to assign that task coordinator. You just need their first name, last name, and email address. We send them out a confirmation. You'll see that here in just a little bit. Same thing, task coordinator, first name, last name, email address, and phone. And then they can view all of the volunteers when they log in for their section. So managing the tasks, some of the things that you can do once you've created that first task, you'll be able to download the task and time slots into a CSV form. Where that's really convenient is, let's say that you have a volunteer station and you want to go to the local Rotary or PTA or whoever it may be and just set out a sign-up sheet. And so they're going to manually put in their name and their email and things like that to raise their hand and let you know they're part of it. Download that as a CSV, print it off, take it over to the meeting. That gives you a quick and easy access to it. We're going to use that later, so keep that page in mind. You can edit the task. So you just pick whichever one. All of these that you see listed out are just individual tasks. So water station 1, water station 2, you could kind of fill it in with whatever you're doing. You can just click right onto it, go back into it and make any changes to that task as necessary. And then, like you're saying, if you wanted to add a separate task, you just click the green button to add a task and do that process all over again as many times as you need. Second thing we're going to talk about is the time slots and resources and how to set those up. Bonus points for anyone who finds the Back to the Future reference that's going on up here, or the Back to the Future kind of error that went in here. So this is where you can say, I need a minimum number of participants at this location. If you know that at each water station or at each of your stations, you need to have 3 people minimum, you're going to set that here. This is valuable because you'll see how that comes in later with the data, but it'll give you an idea of which stations you need to be tracking for. And am I actually filling the stations that need the most help? You can also set up a max. So if you just don't want everyone to sign up for water station 1 because it's going to be done the first time, and then they can move on and do whatever they want. You want to spread it out. You can say, okay, no more than 5 people can sign up for that. They've got to move on to a different task if they need to do that. And then you can see here, we're going to have a start time and an end time. And you can put the different times there. This one is overlapping by 30 minutes. So that next group of 3 people to 5 people are going to show up about 30 minutes later to kind of fill in some of the gaps there. One thing to keep in mind here about the resources needed. This is not like you want to have a 10 by 10 easy up at that location. So we're going to put that in there as a note to yourself. These are things that you want people to raise their hand and say, I have that, I can bring it. So think about parking or security, where you might have vests that they need to be wearing. You might say, we need 15 vests. And then as people sign up, if they've got a vest they can bring themselves, they're going to raise their hand in the sign up process and say, I've got one of those. And then at the end, you might say, okay, I need it 15, 10 people are going to bring their own. I need to go and buy 5 different vests to bring out to the event. So the next part is categories here. So again, we talked about water station 1 and 2 are their own tasks, but then these guys are going to be lumped into the category of the water stations. And so in this task coordinator, Bob's going to be our task coordinator for that. And then he is going to be in control of all of these different stations that are going to be highlighted here. So, this is going to list out all the different things we did on step 1. You just select which ones you want to include, put a category name on that, and then assign that to someone who's going to be coordinating all those efforts. And then volunteer information. What information can we collect from people? Pretty much everything that you can collect from your participants for your event. So if you want to get name, email address, phone number, home address, date of birth, gender, if you have any emergency contact information that you need to ask, any other custom questions, just like you can ask for the registration, you can include those for those specifically. The custom questions is also where you would put in if you're doing special t-shirts for them and want to know their t-shirt sizes so that you can keep those separate in the reports. So just some of the ways to do that, you can have required fields, obviously means they have to fill that out. You can also have it as an optional field as well. The custom questions, we talked a little bit about that, and emergency contact information you can collect from them. And then question logic still exists here as well. So if you wanted to ask, are you CPR certified? Yes. If they say yes, then drop down the next question that says, what's the last date of your certification, or when does your certification expire? You can ask those questions. If they say no, just moves them right on to the next question. So we're going to dive into a few advanced options here. Now you can password protect these tasks. So let's say water station 1, you've already talked to the local track club, and they are going to be the ones who man water station 1. They're going to take care of it. Nothing you need to do there. You still want to have that in your overall dashboard so you can monitor that and see what's going on there, but you don't want anyone to be able to sign up for it. So you password protect that. Only people with the password can now sign up. You give the password to the cross-country coach and they put the information in, off you go. Task overlap, we talked a little bit about that. You can restrict volunteers from signing up on anything that's going to overlap with something they've already picked. So if you have someone, and most events do, you've got that volunteer that wants to be a part of packet pickup on Friday night, then they want to be there at water station 1 on Saturday morning. That's fine. There's no overlap. Sign up for both, have at it. What you want to avoid is, I want to be at parking, which is going to go until maybe after the event starts. And then I also want to be at water station 1, which they're never going to get there in time for. So you're trying to avoid any of that overlapping tasks in there. And so you can allow them to do that if you want. I'd be very careful about that and make sure you have a specific use case that's going to work for it. And then volunteer comments. This is a nice spot if you have those volunteers that say, I need to leave early, 30 minutes early from my task. They can put that quick comment in there, and then at least you know what to expect from that person. The task coordinator can see that as well and know, okay, there's going to be something going on with this individual. So email customization, there are a few automated emails that go out automatically that you can customize a little bit, some of the wording there. So when they sign up for a task, we're going to send them that notification for thanking them to sign up. when they're switched to a different task. So if they need to switch from water station 1 over to water station 2, they're going to get an alert through email on that as well. You can see that it's going to show up right above the waiver. So yes, volunteers do have a waiver that they have to sign, or you can have them sign. And right underneath the add a task. So kind of giving you an idea of where it's going to show. And again, we're going to do a demo so you can kind of see where some of these options are at. That's just an example of the invitation that they're going to receive. The coordinator is going to receive when you give them that, put in their name and email. All they do is click the accept invitation. And they're ready to rock and roll. They're in there. They can see all the data. Coordinator notifications. Coordinators can get the option of either being alerted every time someone signs up. So in those moments when you're having, maybe you need 5 people and no one's signing up, then you can talk with your task coordinator and say, hey, can you do some efforts to get more people to sign up for your specific station? Or at least you would know that you need to do that. Some coordinators love knowing every time someone signs up so they know where they stand. Some people are like, nope, I can just go into the system, look at the data myself, and I don't need it to alert me every time. So kind of up to them if they want those alerts. As far as the communication tools that we have, you can just select certain recipients to receive it, or you can say, I want to just do everyone, or even manually enter their address if they're not listed already. So some of that would be, if I only want to email my water stations, or I only want to email my volunteers that are going to be there for a certain time slot, then I can pick those people, send them a quick email, or I can just do a bulk email to all of my volunteers. We do have replacement tags. Just about anywhere you see email, you can put in a replacement tag. Here's an example of some of the most used ones. The task is going to show what task they're signed up for, email, first name, pretty self-explanatory there. And then here's a list of some other ones. The time slot might be a good one. So if you have volunteers that are maybe showing up later than what they're supposed to, that's a great little reminder email to send out to let them know what's going on. If you have people just continuously not showing up, I'll show you where you can actually track some of that and see, oh, well, maybe I don't want Joe Smith to be a volunteer for me anymore. And sorry, Joe Smith, if you're listening or in this room. So I apologize. And then importing volunteers. So remember we had that CSV form from the Rotary Club or your PTA. You can do that a few different ways of importing it in. If you took that information, put it back on a CSV file, or you had them fill it out on a CSV file, you can upload that CSV right to our system, and that'll automatically send them out that email. Or if you'd like to just manually import them one by one, just type in their first name, last name, any of the other contact information you got from them, and that'll put them in as a volunteer. So this is the user experience. This is actually on the front, participant facing, volunteer facing side of the website. When they go on and click on volunteer, they're going to see, okay, what are the options for the events or the tasks that I can do? Here we see I can be a judge. We've got 3 different time slots there. Looks like that first one's already minimum met, but they're allowing people to oversign for that. You can control it to say cut it off once it reaches your cap. You've got the swag manager. So for the swag manager, they put age restriction on there. You have to be 24 years old for that one. And then down here at security, they're saying that we need it's either 14 or 1+ vest. It's very small and I cannot tell which the difference is. We need 1 more vest is what they're saying. But multiple locations, front entrance, kind of showing them where they're at. They'll go ahead and sign up for that. It'll ask them any of the questions, the custom questions that you've had. They'll agree to any of the waivers. And then just like you would if you're a participant, you're going to have that confirmation screen. They hit confirm volunteer registration and they have completed their registration. At that point, we're going to send them out that email confirming everything. You can customize that to give them a little bit more detail about what they're doing. But that's going to give you all the information. If you start to notice you're starting to have more and more people not show up on time or at all, you've got the information now that you can start reaching out to them and building that relationship with them. So frequently asked questions, yes, volunteers can sign up for multiple tasks. We did talk about that a little bit. You can see here the different restrictions that you can put on there. Only allow volunteers to register for 1 time slot at a time, prevent them from doing any overlapping time slots, and then allow volunteers to leave a comment for the race. That's that, I need to leave by 3:30 or 30 minutes early or whatever it may be. And then, of course, setting the password if you wanted to do that. Can I set up audited volunteer emails? And this is a big question for such a small sentence. Yes and no. So yes, those automated emails when they sign up are going to be automated. They're automatically going to get it. You can customize those however you'd like to do it. But there's nothing that I can say, okay, 3 days before the event, I want to send out this reminder to all my volunteers. What you can do in place of that is using our email tools that we have available for participants and organizations is set up an automated email by downloading your volunteer list and importing that into your custom list for the email settings, and then sending out an automated email that way. The other way is if you do have an outside of RunSignup email platform like a MailChimp or a Constant Contact or even just old-fashioned Outlook, you could import the CSV into that and send it out automatically over there. So there's a few workarounds for it, but just know that you do have those automated emails when they first sign up. And we're going to jump into a basic demo here. Any questions while I'm pulling that up? Oh, get that mic.
Have you guys thought of like a loyalty program for volunteers? Like if volunteers are volunteering multiple times for different types of races, you know,
Right.
if I want to see across the board, this volunteer has been here for like 20 different races over the last 2 years. And have you thought of something like that?
There's nothing directly in the system. You could definitely track that on a external CSV form, but you could look in within that one race year over year. You can look at past years' data for volunteers. So we look at volunteers more of a event by event. So because some events they're going to be participants at, some events they're going to be a volunteer at them. You could potentially do an advanced workaround for it. I could talk to you about it afterwards if like, yeah. Awesome. So we'll jump down here and I'll show you kind of how the volunteer tools work. So when I get into the volunteers, it's just right there. Again, you might have to click show more depending on how you've set up your dashboard. And then I'm just going to go right into setup. So step one, we're going to set up all of our tasks, and they've already been set up. It's just so we don't have to worry about typing it in every time. As you can see here, I'll put Water Station 1 as our task title. Information, get to see every participant, including your friends and family. What a deal. And then the location for Water Station 1 is going to be behind the monkey bars. And I'm going to be the task coordinator for that location. Then we have Water Station 2. No information on that one, no location, but you can kind of get the idea. You can continue to add those. And then we have the finish line here. Same sort of thing. And again, if you wanted to add a task coordinator for any of these, you click that green button to add that task coordinator.
Is there any way to like add like a map of your
You could do that through the website builder, add a map to your location overall, and then highlight the different areas. That'd be a pretty easy, you add the site, add the page in the website builder, and then on your cover page, or even in an email link that you send out to them later, you include a link directly to that custom page that has the map to show them where to go.
We typically put coordinates inside of the location,
Yep.
if that helps you.
For all of our geo trackers out there. I love it. Awesome. So again, you know, what fields are we going to require from people? You can click on any of these, none of these, whatever works best for your event. And then we're just going to save and continue. It's going to jump us right over to step 2. If I needed to go back, just like in the Race Wizard, hope we're all familiar with the Race Wizard, I can just click on step 1. It'll take me right back to step 1. So in step 2, we're going to talk about our time slots. And I'm going to shift because that knee's getting tired. Volunteers, we need minimum of 4 people and a maximum of 5. We're going to start them at 8 o'clock and run till 9 o'clock. And then we have our next guys coming in at 9 o'clock and going till 10. So again, on this task, if I did not set it up that they cannot sign up for multiple tasks, they can sign up for multiple tasks, then someone could sign up and cover the whole 8 to 10 if they wanted to. They could click both, cover that whole time slot for me, and I'm good to go. It would count it 1 for the first time slot and 1 for the second time slot. If these were overlapping and I told people they could not do that, then no, I would be restricting them. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about those time slots. Resources needed, we didn't put any in there. And then you can see Water Station 2 set up the same thing. We just bumped that 15 minutes. It's going to take them about 15 minutes to get there. And then finish line is going to be there all day from 6 to 12. Those poor souls. I mean, we love our volunteers. Hope it's not hot. It is a swim after all. All right, and then down here, task category. So we've got water station 1, water station 2, and you can see the finish line's not highlighted. If I wanted to include that, I simply click it. If I don't want to include it, I click this one, hold my shift, get both of them, and off we go. Dan is going to be our task category coordinator. So Dan's in charge of everything. Keep it straight, Dan. He's going to make sure all of us have water at the correct times. Then we're going to save those categories, and we are all set up. Any questions on the setup? Cool. And I'll just really quickly jump over to the volunteer so you can see what that looks like. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see it.
So you have the 3 levels, category coordinator, task coordinator, and volunteer. So let's suppose for something you didn't want to bother with a category coordinator, can you leave that blank, or do
You
need a
could.
killer name?
You could. Yep. So if you only want to deal with one person, the category coordinator comes into play a lot with your larger events, where the time it would take you to walk to all of the different stations to talk with all of the different coordinators at each station is just going to be overwhelming, even for one person just worrying about that. So it's all about managing your resources. If you have enough people to say, we're going to have this big tree, I'm going to talk to you 4 and you 4 manage all the rest of it. Great. That's less on your plate. You can focus on the check-in or participants or sponsors or whatever else you need to do, parking. If you're focused on managing 10 individual coordinators, then that means you've got 10 extra people, 10 extra responsibilities across your event. So it just depends. Each event's going to be a little bit different there. Cool. 6 questions. Can we do it afterwards? We'll have time for questions afterwards as well. Okay. All right. So here you can see water station 1, water station 2. I can just click on whichever one I want to sign up for. We have not restricted that, so I can click on both of them at the same time. I can click on volunteer. I'm going to register me, whoever this is registered under. Oh, Johanna. So Johanna's going to get an email. Hope she's not presenting. We're agreeing to the waiver, continuing. This is a fake event, so we're all good. We're going to pick our t-shirt size. So this is our custom question here. So let's just go no shirt. Can't get in trouble if I choose no shirt. All right, and then there you go. I can see all my confirmation. We're going to confirm volunteer registration, and that was sent over there. So she's got an email waiting for her at this point to go through. Any questions on the user side of things? All right, we're going to jump back in. So now that we've got everyone signed in, hopefully they're going to show up for the event. We can start diving a little bit more into our needs through our summary reports and our volunteer reports. So the summary report here, and we'll go into it here, is really going to dive into what are you good on. So anything that's hit the minimum is going to be a yellow, kind of give you that quick visual. Those are good. If you've hit your max, even if you allow it to go over the max, that's fine, but that will change to green. If you still need more people, then it's going to be red. So it's going to let you know, okay, we need more people at the key handler, keg handler, the keg handler, and the keg handler. That seems like it'd be a fun place to be at. So we need to get more people there. So I know I can focus my efforts there. The judges, we've got 2. We only wanted 1, so we're good to go. Let's see here. So the volunteer report is going to be very similar to your participant management screens. So whenever you're drilling into this report, you can see the person's information, their contact, what station they're going to be at, what time slot they signed up for. And if you need to manage that, if they reach out to you and they say, hey, I want it to be at water station 1, not water station 2, you can go into that manage button, and then that will drop down a screen where you can change their name, email, contact number, which task, time slot, et cetera, that they've signed up for. Volunteer check-in. Who here currently uses the RunSignup RaceDay check-in app? Awesome. I want to see more hands next time. So on that RaceDay check-in app, if you click onto the left side, you'll see a little hamburger button. Kind of looks like this guy over here, the little 3 lines. And then that is going to give you some options over there. You'll see one that says switch modes. That'll take you from participants over to your volunteers, and you can start checking those people in there. If you have more than one person doing check-in and one person can be handling the volunteers themselves, it's great because you don't have to keep switching between them. But if you are the only person doing it, we've made it pretty easy to do that on your own if you needed to. Works pretty much the same way. You're going to set up what information you want to receive or you want to see on the check-in app when you check each volunteer in. So if you're doing things like t-shirt sizing, if you're doing anything like which station they're going to, any custom questions that they've answered, emergency contact info, anything like that, and you want to see that show up on the check-in app, you'll just go into the settings and turn those toggles on for those options. Once you do that, when I click onto it, it's going to look just like it does for your participant check-in. So I can see my list of volunteers over here. I'm going to click on test dad. You can see, I can see his first name, last name, if he's checked in yet, email address, and which task he is assigned to. So he's going to be at the shirt handout section. When I click check in, it's going to give me a big old check mark. And if I made a mistake, if I meant to check on Mr. Big Spender over there, I can uncheck test that in, brings me right back over to this page. I can click on Big Spender and go through the same process with him as well. Once you do that, we're all about quick visual reports that show you the data quickly so you can move on to something else if you need to, or if you see something like an all red screen, probably means that you need to look into it a little more. But think about this, if I'm checking in people at different locations across the city for like a big marathon or something like that, I don't want to necessarily have to drive out and find out what's going on. So I can take a quick glance here and see, okay, water station 1 on the east side of the city, they've only checked in one person and they have 4 volunteers that are going to be there. What's going on over there? I might want to call that person. Hey, is everything going all right? Have people shown up? Are you having any issues? Because I might need to redirect my volunteers that I do have. So it gives you a quick snapshot of what's going on the check-in app. Maybe they say everything's great, just my phone ran out of battery, can't figure out how to do it. We're good though, don't worry about us. Okay, at least you know and you can move on. Same thing, once you check people in, everyone's gonna have a yes mark, check mark there, or a no if they didn't get checked in for some reason. And if you start noticing a pattern that John Smith, sorry John, does not check in at any of our events, then maybe we need to not allow John Smith to be a part of our volunteers going forward. Maybe it's something that we need to talk with him about, see what's going on. Maybe he doesn't understand the responsibilities. Whatever it is, we at least can see some references to what's going on. Again, if you needed to manage any of that, if you think that someone got checked in and shouldn't have been checked in, you can manage that and move on. Any questions? Now you got 6 for me waiting. 7, it's gone up.
I'm sorry. What if we have a second waiver? Can we include it separately or have a link?
Not 100% sure if you can do a second waiver with volunteers. I
So-
don't believe you can.
Yeah, one of the companies I work for, they have a separate, they collect, because they have a grant program, they need to collect in the smart link
Right.
section. So I don't know where you would recommend doing that. We can,
I've got an idea for it. It's kind of on the same line, so I'll connect with both of you
thank
on
you.
that. Yeah.
And then task coordinator, when they say I didn't get an email, it's a different language. It's not labeled as task coordinator from RunSignup.
The
So,
task coordinator or the
yes.
category
task coordinator.
task coordinator.
So it's a different, it says something different and I don't remember that off the top of my head, but they're like, oh, I didn't get that, but I got this. So I didn't know if you could have the same language. So we knew. I'm sorry to be
Yeah, let me check on that.
a bully with that. Can volunteers unsubscribe from emails? These are good questions,
I would
right?
assume so because we probably put that on every single email we send out. That's a good question. I would assume so though.
And when you import from a list like that Rotary Club, what about the waivers? You know, we're signing their names in so they can get emails, but maybe can we send them a link to the waiver or like the language?
I can check on that
how
because
do you do
you can
that?
find out if they've signed the waiver or not. I know we can do that on registrants, but I can check on that too.
So I've done,
That up and see if she got her email, see if they'll subscribe.
Yeah.
I think any email I would like.
Have to have that.
and then, sorry, I have some more. When does overall task password work? Like, why would you utilize that?
So like I said, if you had the track club that is going to handle Water Station 1, you're going to give the track coach the password for Water Station 1 so that only they can sign up for that task.
So that's separate from overall task password for the overall, for the race. I thought.
Yes.
So when does overall password work?
Overall, for like all volunteers,
Yes.
it essentially be if you didn't want to have anyone sign up publicly, it was only going to be private volunteers.
Roger that.
Yep.
Resources, can that be part of the confirmation email? With that, is there a replacement tag for that?
For the resources needed,
Yes. To remind them
can
that
look
they're
into it.
bringing things?
Yeah.
Does anyone have a good idea of how to get people to help with parking? I was like sexy parking assistant or
yeah,
unicorn
that's
parking
a
assistant.
tough one. That's a tough one because they're going to be out in the dust and the rain and any other element there. So I would meet with some of your other directors afterwards. See, he had a question up here.
One more question though.
Okay.
Volunteer
Yeah.
coordinator, or task coordinator, is it okay to remove, do you recommend having them be able to remove a volunteer from a task so someone else can go in there, or is that something they should email you about? And
That's up to you. So they
Okay.
have the ability to do that, but that's just up to you and the relationship with that person. If you don't want them doing that task, that's fine. It's how much, what's the word I'm looking for? How much freedom do you want from that event volunteer section? Right. You know, if I've got a 16-year-old running the Water Station 1, please don't touch anything. Or unless they're really smart. I know some smart 16-year-olds as well. But if it's, you know, someone you really trust, you might want them to do that. Yeah, no worries.
Okay, sign in. You have the volunteer signing in. I have a lot of times people just disappear. What about signing out?
There's no sign out. They can only sign in. At that point, it's up to your volunteer coordinators to wrangle the herd, if you will.
Because because they sign in and and they
Now,
disappear.
with our check-in app, you could check them in and then they go on about their day. And then when they come back at the end, you could technically uncheck them in.
Well,
if you want to, or do something like that.
I do the manual method, the volunteer. Here's your
Yeah.
here's
'Cause
your
you can
waiver-
scan
here's
them
your
on-
waiver.
Mhm.
You bring back the waiver and you'll get your credit, but there is no electronic way.
Right. I gotcha.
Two questions.
Yeah.
One, is there a way to send a test in the volunteer email? Like when you send a normal to participants, you can send a test email.
A test email for the volunteer email. I'd imagine so. I'm trying to think of the screen
There's
right
no
now.
button on the bottom, so I know that.
No, I know it wasn't on the pop-out
Yeah.
that we had here. I'd imagine it's there because we put a test email in just about every email option that you have there. So let me check on that and get back to you. But I would guess yes.
And are there plans to make volunteers more organization wide? We put on many events, so we want to be able to like contact all of our volunteers, and be like, these are your open spots.
Right.
Is
So
there,
from
like-
like 5 different events.
Yeah.
No, at this point right now, the volunteer email that you would send out, you would create a custom CSV folder or file and just download all of that data into one file. Then
But
at
there's
least you can
no,
move that
like,
in as a custom list for
organization-wide
volunteers.
Volunteer thing, like on your partner dashboard or anything, but like.
No, there's
how
not
do you
a
search all the
all
participants?
encompassing volunteer.
Is
No,
there any progress towards doing that?
I don't know. I could find out.
We currently use.
You would use
Better
a workaround
Impact,
like a
which is
CSV download. So you would download from each event, import it into one CSV file, and then from there, pull all the data out of it.
So in response to your question about getting volunteers for harder tasks, we've implemented a volunteer program. So we have different tiers of rewards for every time somebody volunteers and repeat volunteers. So for the harder jobs, then we just offer the higher tier rewards earlier. So like if the final tier is a t-shirt or a gift card, we might put that on like a second tier for a harder job. So
I like it.
I have a question to your tier, but after I can do it. So we have a race that has multiple locations where volunteers need to check in. Is there any way for volunteers to have like an app or a QR code where they can go and check in from not having to go to one location to get checked in with one
Yeah,
person?
so you give each task coordinator the login to your check-in app, and they would just log in under the volunteer check-in. And so they could be in different parts of the city. I mean, they could be all over the place, different counties, different states, different countries. And they could be running on that event and scan people over here and scan people over there, or type their name in, find them, check them in there, check them in at the other location as well. So yeah, you just give them access to, they can download it. It works on Android, works on Apple, it's in the Google Play Store and the App Store. So they just download it, log into your event, and then they can check in volunteers wherever they're at. All right.
I have one more. It sounds like most of y'all are race coordinators or directors. Sorry, I'm so out of place. But we use it and we turn off the ticketing. So if that's ever something helpful, we've got a lot of events that we just need volunteer sign up, and we were able to use this platform, and it's amazing.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
I thought I was gonna help.
Mine's actually a question this way because of the incentivizing. And that was one huge thing that I had, or question that I had of everybody I've talked to since I got here. How many in here incentivize, pay, donate to get volunteers to their events currently? So you pretty much everybody's in the same mindset that you have to do that to get people to show up and get full volunteers.
Yeah.
Way different. It used to be the world where people would show up because they like coming to events and do all that stuff, and that died a long time ago. Right. Cause I even know, like, it got so bad, it's go off topic, I apologize. But like in an event that our run was completely separate, like our shop and organization and all that stuff. They're doing a run where people are coming out of the woodwork to do coordinators and getting volunteers just on their own because they're part of their run. But as organizations are putting things on, these same people won't come out and do things. So it's a really weird dynamic right now that if it's kind of the run group's idea, then they'll go do it. And so now I'm trying to figure out, well, how do we circumvent that, which I think paying or incentivizing is the only real answer.
We call it fundraising instead of fundraising. So it's good because we have so many minimum of volunteers, the 5 and not volunteers.
Have you ever adopted a mile out? We do that. So, sorry, I was running. So my coworker, she did a half marathon and she had charities adopt each mile. So it doesn't cut out of, like if you're for profit, we're a nonprofit. If you're a for profit, it doesn't cut out. Like you could say every charity gets $5 of your registration fee, or you have the mile to decorate and raise money, and you can get runners to run for your charity, and you're still getting, if you're a for-profit business, you're still getting the ticket fee, but then you're also getting more exposure, volunteers, you know, it works out well, and you're multiplying your event if it's a half marathon by 13, because you've got 13 different entities telling the story of your race to different portals throughout the community, and it works really well. You can look up Hattiesburg half marathon in Mississippi. It's done very successfully
Cool.
on RunSignup.
So this is a RunSignup question. Is there like a referral feature in RunSignup for volunteers? So like if a volunteer sends you a referral of another volunteer, is there some kind of
Not
reward?
for volunteers,
Okay.
not for volunteers. Join me in my breakout over here, my 3-person breakout now afterwards. Well, if there's nothing else, then I want to thank you guys for being here, and it's almost 3 o'clock, so you get you guys time to go over to your next seminar. Thank you guys.